Welcome back to the Pencil King Show. Today we are speaking with Daniel from Canada. Now, Daniel, he is another student in the Evolve program, but he's a little bit different because he is the director of operations at Evolve, and he's helped me a lot with Pencil Kings over the last couple of years. But like me, he is a student. So, welcome, Daniel. How are you doing today?
Hey, doing well, thanks. Yeah, excited to talk about Evolve and the journey it's been.
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool to for people who are in the program to meet. Well, I'm helping students. Kevin's obviously helping students. Piper's helping students. But to meet
Yeah,
another person, because maybe just quickly take us through some of the stuff that you do day to day for Evolve, and how you might be interacting with some of the students or people who have questions about the program.
sure. Yeah, so over the past, I guess, year and a half or 2 years, I've helped you, Mitch, um, and yeah, basically build some of the systems behind Evolve, and I've been in the breakfast club with students, just hearing how they're doing. Um, I've been answering lots of different emails. If you ever go to the Evolve site and you see a little like contact us, I'm the person who you're able to contact and often answer questions or route your question to the appropriate person. So just with a business like Evolve, there are lots of little things to do, and I'm one of the people, just like Mitch, that gets to do a lot of those small tasks.
And so, as a student, when did you formally start?
As a student, I was trying to remember. I think it was April 2017. Does that sound about right to you?
I think you started when I did in like October of 2017. We both started with the first group of
Right, right,
students.
right. Okay. Yeah, sorry. So when I was thinking April 2017, I think that was when I started working on Evolve, but not the Evolve exercises.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah,
And
I just meant as a student because the first
gotcha.
boxes went out I think like the end of September, and it took us a little bit extra time to get ours in
Yeah.
Canada the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So
S-
October 2017.
So about 14 months.
Right.
Yeah, about 14 months. And have you ever studied art before?
No, I never studied art. My background was in music. And so I'd like sketched with a pencil before, but never any classes or instruction.
And what about in high school? Did they have any art program for you?
No, no, I think my last art class was in grade 7. Yeah. And it wasn't tailored specifically towards anything.
Right. Yeah. I think for us, it was the same that our art classes ended at grade 8, and then
Yeah.
grade 9, there was nothing in the high school, but they would have someone who would come in at lunch times for part of the year, so you could work with. But anyway, so here's the big question: like, why are you doing this? What's your motivation? Because I don't get the sense that, or I've never got the sense that you're like, oh yeah, I want to be a painter, which I think is quite different than a lot of the other students who we've interviewed so far.
Yeah, it was never my goal to be, a full-time artist. And I actually came onto the Evolve team more so from like the building a business side. So when but on the other hand, I'm a creative person, and like I had got my bachelor's in music, and so I love the creative process, and um, I just love creating things, and I think that there's tons of value in that. So that I think really hooked me on Evolve, just the idea of being able to help people create like beautiful art. So that interested me, but there's never maybe for myself, there's never been the motivation of I want to do this full time. And so I think I approach it more from a sort of like an outsider's perspective, and I'm going through it because I find it relaxing, and I find it um, and I just find I think the process fascinating to see how to take someone who's, just sort of treading water with their own art, not really going anywhere, and then being able to give them the education and the tools to actually create what they imagined they wanted to create.
And where do you feel that you fit in with the other students? Because I think what's interesting here is that you aren't coming into it with you're basically no level. Like you know that you're a
Right.
creative person, but
Yeah.
as it applies to visual arts, you really haven't done anything. So you're starting pretty much from zero. And where
Yeah.
would you say you compare to the other students, or how do you fit in? Are you yeah.
I think I think there's I think it depends on a couple things, but I'd say I'm pretty much where other people are, and I think like passion can take you so far. It can take you, a certain amount, and then also just sheer determination and grit will take you a certain amount. And in my life, I've developed quite a lot of grit, and so um, just submitting the next assignment, and for creative people, that's like a huge it's a really important part of being creative. You have to just do the next thing and work on the next creative project. And so for myself, I think there are people who are very, very passionate about art, and so they are just blazing through the program because they have that fire in their bones. And for myself, it's not particularly visual arts related, but it's this desire to push forward creatively, and then also the grit. So I think that has brought me up to the level of a lot of other people. Um, yeah, I'm not sure where I'd exactly grade myself, but my work is, of the same at the same level as the front runners, I think, but I'm just maybe behind them by a block or two.
And yeah, and one of the things that I like about seeing some of the work that you've done is I feel that yours a little bit special because we get to choose. Sometimes we're doing assignments that the Evolve program gives us, and then sometimes we get to
Yeah.
choose what we're going to create. And I really like your paintings because I feel that they're not too difficult, that you're kind of like getting way past what you can do skill wise, or it's going to take a lot of time. Um, but they are all very frameable. And I don't,
Mhm.
do you have any pieces that you could hold up to?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can maybe even see one framed in the background. It's of one of my boots. So I just thought, I love my boots. They serve me well every day. So I thought I'd paint one of my blunt stones. So there's one back there. And let me see. So this is something that's, just it's an exercise that I didn't choose the subject, but it's one of the paintings that
Okay,
I'm
so
at.
how long ago did you start painting? Like when did you first touch oil paint? How many
Maybe
months
like
ago?
what, 2 months ago? 2.5 months ago,
Okay.
I think.
Yeah, and can you just hold
Yeah.
it a little bit higher?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
So this is I think 2.5 months of painting,
Yeah.
and I didn't choose that subject. That was like one of the prescribed um, exercises, and then I'll show you a couple of the ones that I chose the subject. So this, I just got a little gift box because I thought that would be fun. So this is my drawing of it, and then this is my painting of it.
Wow. And okay, so like I'm blown away a little bit because I see a lot of student artwork, a lot of student drawings. Can you hold up your drawing for a second? Because you've never really
Yeah,
done drawing study before,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's cool because you look at the drawing and you're like, okay, cool. It's like it's a nice drawing, but then when you show the painting, you're just like, wow, that looks awesome.
Yeah. So then I'll just show you one more. Yeah, I think it's been cool because drawings and sketches I've done in the past, just a little bit, but to be able to render them pretty realistically in grayscale paint is awesome. And I'm just super excited to see what happens when I add color to it. So this is my sketch of just a little coffee pot, and then I'm just going to drop it, and this is my painting.
Wow.
So I think this was just a couple paintings ago, and yeah, I think I'm about halfway through the grayscale painting block.
And so while you're like, I think it's cool because you're further ahead than I am, so I'm looking up to you. I look up to all the students who are ahead of me in the program because it just, you know, it takes effort. It's not, it doesn't come for free, right? Like
Right.
it's not just something that you get without trying. But how do you find it? Like when you sit down to do your painting, are you often frustrating, or is it you just kind of throw on some music and you kind of go through the motions, or can you describe what it looks like? Like let's say that
Yeah.
coffee pot. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the right word, but
Yeah.
fancy coffee pot. When you're
Sure.
painting that fancy coffee pot, what are you thinking, or what are you feeling? What are your emotions like while you're going through that?
Um, I think there are like two stages. The first stage is generally I'm like dragging my feet, and that is through the prep work. So mixing the paints, like cleaning my desk, just the sort of boring things that need to happen before you can actually, the organization that has to happen before you actually can create. And and then the next stage is once I'm like 5 minutes into it, once I've actually put the brush to the page, and then it's just really relaxing. Um, it's nothing. It's not like fireworks, and I'm not having some necessarily some in yeah, like exceptional experience, but it's relaxing and it's almost meditative, and um and it's I liked math growing up because it was simple, because I knew there was a right way to do it or a wrong way to do it. And with this approach to painting or to drawing, I'm always sort of quality checking, and so I know, like, am I doing this correctly? Yes. Okay, then it's just slowly moving forward in that direction. So yeah, I put some music on, and I generally lose track of time.
Wow. So painting and math, I never thought that anyone would ever compare those two, but it's interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a system for both. So I think of them, and there's a system for music. So that's that's sort of how I've, like, you talk about music theory. It's a theoretical way of understanding it, and I think this is sort of like a theoretical way of understanding art. Um, so yeah, we're figuring out a system to create the art that's in our minds.
Yeah, that's such a great way to put it, and that's one of the things that I love with these interviews and just speaking with the students, and because I feel like we're all learning from each other, and it's this really cool shared experience
Yeah.
because we're often on video calls together, and just the idea that because I think for the longest time there wasn't a system for art, or if there was, it wasn't very accessible or known, and this is it's not it's I wouldn't call it exactly a science, but it's getting closer and closer where
Mhm.
you know the recipe of what to follow, and it gives you a lot of confidence because it's not like you just have this blank canvas and then you have to invent all this stuff. It's like no, there's a system that you go through and
Yeah.
follow.
Yeah, and it feels safe since you're in a system. Like, I think a lot of the time when I've worked on creative projects, you get sort of scared, you get nervous because you don't know what the next step is. But with this, you feel safe, and you feel like, oh, okay, I know where the next step is going to be, and 5 steps ahead, I don't necessarily know what that step is, but I know that the instructor knows, and they're going to help me get there. So it just feels like like the stakes are lower. You aren't gonna jump off some creative cliff where you just fail, and it took you a month to figure out that lesson or something.
So what's your personal strategy for getting your work done?
Yeah, so my strategy is to get it done before I start my work for the day. So my wife is a teacher, so I wake up early before she heads to school, and I mix my paints, and then have breakfast, and then actually start painting. And I give myself some flex time, um, because often it takes a little bit longer than I expect. just the process of, preparing, painting, and then cleaning my supplies. And I don't want to rush it. So yeah, and then sometimes I do some later on in the day if I need to, if there's a part that's still wet and I need to address it, part of the painting.
Oh,
But basically, like, and if you're familiar with the process, you understand that you paint highlights or you paint shadows after you've actually painted the object in, and so that means that you have to paint those while the painting is still wet. So if you actually block in just the normal main shades, without, I don't want to get too technical with the language, but you can do that in the morning, and then potentially in the afternoon, you can add the highlights and reflections before it dries. So sometimes I do that too.
wow. I hadn't thought about splitting it up like that. So thank you for sharing that. Like each time I learn, we all have different working styles, and it's cool that, you can just make it fit your schedule. And I think that's part of what I'm trying to uncover, because that's been my big challenge. I know for a lot of people, and it's not just for Evolve, it's for any art, or it just, how
Yeah.
do you make it work with your schedule? And with paint, it's interesting because it's always changing. It's always getting drier and drier and drier. Um, so what's going on in the background while you're going through your painting? Are you watching TV? Are
Oh
you
gosh.
in busy family environment? Are you like in solitude? I guess it's in the morning, so there's probably not a lot going on.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. I I like to just listen to instrumental music, because I don't, yeah. If I listen to a podcast or watch TV or something, I would get distracted. So I listen to something generally instrumental. I have a cup of coffee, and I make sure that my work area is clear so that I can just get into it. And then I set a reminder on my phone to remind me when my like set period of time is done, so I don't have to keep looking at the watch to sort of see where I am time wise. And that's just a way for me to enter fully into it and not be distracted by anything. And I just mute my phone. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. A great tip, and I've started doing that myself as well. Just, hey Siri, or I guess Google Assistant probably has the same thing. Like, hey, set a timer for 45 minutes or 2 hours and
Yeah.
45, whatever you have, and then I usually flip my phone over and put it in airplane mode because I know that this is my time, and that the world will come and crash into my day for 22 more hours of the day, but for 2 hours, I'm gonna be focused and do my thing.
Yeah.
So last question, what inspires you, or what actually no, I've got a couple more here. So as you're working, is there anything that inspires or motivates you, that kind of gets you excited for the work?
Um, Interesting question. Like I guess I could take that a couple of different ways, but I think like themes that get me inspired about creating are like um, well, creativity generally, but that's pretty vague.
Okay, let
Uh,
me rephrase this then.
okay.
Because, and it might be because you didn't have that sort of visual art background before. It
Oh,
was more
right.
like, because I feel like with music, you're probably like being inspired by sounds all the time, where you could even be on the subway and you just hear a rhythm or a
Mm.
sound and you're just like, oh, I like that. But are there things now that you've started to notice in your day-to-day life, like visually, that is like, oh, that would, if that was framed, that would be interesting, or
Oh, interesting. Um, I think like how light changes objects, and like often I'll lie down on my bed and I'll just think about the ceiling and how the different shadows are playing with the roof with the ceiling, or um and how, or often I look at my instruments and I think about how like the gradients on some of this wood, for example, on my guitar or something, would be like really beautiful rendered in color oil or something like that. So yeah, I guess light and shadow. Maybe it's a general way for artists to think about things, but yeah, I've started to think about about the world around me in those terms.
Cool. So if someone had just joined the program today, what would you tell that new evolver to inspire them and help them get started?
I think what I would say is two things. I think the first thing is that there's a myth that creative expression is something that isn't within your grasp, and what I would say is that it is. Creative expression is within your grasp, and there's a timeline. You can have creative expression within a year. You can have creative expression within 2 years if you have, if you have like very little time in your schedule. You probably have thoughts and ideas about what you want to create, and you might not have a roadmap in your mind as to how to get there, but it's been done. And I think people react to the word proven, and to say like there's a proven system. A lot of people react to that. So, maybe don't even think of it as proven, but just think that there's a track record. There are other students who have started from nothing, like me, and who are just going through the exercises and producing work according to the curriculum and producing work of their own choice at the same time. They're moving forward. And the creativity that they desire that sort of has felt like it's above them or something, it is slowly being grasped, and it is actually within your potential to achieve.
So I guess I think this is really fascinating because usually I just talk to people who've always loved art and always wanted to do everything with art. But once you finish block 4, assuming that you continue, because no one's forcing you to do this, but once you get to block 4 and you have the commercial level professional skills, what do you have something in mind that you're excited to create? Do you have that piece?
Well, before I even started drawing, I asked myself that question, like what would I do with the skills that I can, get here? And I think the answer is I want to be able to paint like faces, people that I know. I like the idea of being able to render, like relationships in art. So like maybe multiple people in a painting. So just, for my own enjoyment, I think I would do that. And then also I like challenges. And so I like the idea of the challenge of, selling a piece of art. I don't see myself doing that a lot, but yeah, I think that'd be interesting and a fun challenge.
Which is insane because I feel like a lot of people go through a lot of different training and they never sell a piece of art, and so to have that as one of your, it's not your goal to sell 100 pieces of art or anything like that, but just one, just to try it on for size. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll see where it takes me, because I as I've found with other creative things that I've done, you do the first one and then literally 10 doors open. And I'm not trying to exaggerate, 10 doors open. And then for each one of those doors, there are more doors that open after you go through them. So if my own, the past 10 years of my life exploring just creativity through music, through art, if it's taught me anything, it's that once you do something once, there's a whole world of possibilities that open up. So I think it'll be really interesting for me to find out what happens once I finish block 4 and what's beyond that.
And where can people find more of your work online? Because I know you've been posting as you've been going through the program.
Yeah, people can follow me on Instagram. It's my profile is DGONSKE, D Gonski, and yeah, from time to time I'll post paintings, or I'll post what's going on in my own life. So you can check that out there.
Cool. Thanks so much for hopping on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. For more episodes and the archives, you can head over to pencilkings.com/show. And if you're interested in the program that Daniel and I were talking about, you can head over to evolveartist.com, where you can see the entire curriculum. It's a home study art program that delivers to you all of the materials that you need, all of the mentorship, so that you're supported all the way through as you develop the skills of a professional artist over the course of 1 year. I'll see you next week, when we're going to be talking with another student from the Evolve program who took an art class when she was about 6 years old and then did nothing until she retired and found some paint supplies at a garage sale. You're really going to love this one. I'll see you next week.
You talk like a fool. I would trade a century of practice for an ounce of inspiration.